Hello everybody and welcome to InstaTuesday Live. So a couple things really quick. Today's iCAD is called, it's the mixed media prompt for iCAD is Graffito, and I also had to look that up because I really had no clue what it was. Thank you for YouTube to help me figure out what that is. It's a form of kind of a clay process on pottery, where you put down a glaze over your base layer of clay, and then you go back with your tools and you kind of scrape the top layer off of the bottom layer to reveal a to make a design. And the design is kind of the opposite, or the negative space of what you are scraping. And so I was trying, and I don't know how I'm going to do this on a video, but I'll do it on a video later. Here's my first attempt at something like that. So I figured out, actually that's not my first attempt. This is my first attempt, which looks awful because you can't scrape anything. I put black gesso and I tried to scrape it and it didn't work. Just covered up all my pretty base layer card. So then I decided I would try something kind of like the way Jenny Grant does her collage. She puts a lot of layers of collage down, and she'll go back, and as she's working, she'll pull, and that's not exactly what I did, but she'll kind of pull pieces off, and it will create kind of a neat grungy look. So I was trying to do something that looks similar to one of the examples that I saw of a pottery, because the only example of this I could really find for Graffito was actually for pottery, and I was just like, how do you do that on a flat thing like paper? I just didn't really know exactly how to do that. So thank you, Nina, for giving me a good challenge for this one. I even tried doing it like 2 days ago just to get started on it. So hold on, I have to put my timer on. Okay. So what I did was I took a piece of deli paper or tissue, deli paper, I think, or tissue paper, and I scraped some of my favorite new color, which is Prussian blue from Liquid X, and I scraped it over the top of the paper, and I sort of let it dry, and then I took some collage, matte medium, and I collaged it down, right? And while it was still kind of wet, I tried to cut it away to create a background, or to create a design. And I tried using my like really cool, like awl looking thing. I have these old awls that my dad gave me from some estate sale, but they didn't really work. They were ripping the paper. So I went back and I decided to use like just a plain X-Acto knife, and I was cutting out some images. And I don't think it will really work if it's not wet. I think it still needs to be wet, or else you won't be able to lift the paper off. So I don't know. This is kind of what I'm leaning toward for my Graffito card. Probably not this one. This was kind of my sample, so y'all get to see the sample one. But because I still need to do a video on it for my video, to keep up with my everyday do a video thing. But that was about as close as I could get. Somebody else I saw, I was looking at the tag this morning, and somebody else did where they painted it, and then they put some black paint down and they scraped the black paint away, and that would kind of work if I was confident that the black paint wouldn't completely be always, just cover everything up like my gesso did. I don't know why I thought gesso would work the way I thought it would work. I mean, this kind of works like if you just want to see the interesting pattern, or if I could go back and like maybe color in the spots that are in that I would call that the relief of this, like kind of the where it's indented. That could work, because literally it's the example that I saw. She had a piece of clay and she had glazed it with a black, and she said her clay was not super bone dry yet. It was soft clay still. It was called, she said, leather hard. And she put a black glaze over it, and she was using tools to just peel and scrape the clay, the top layer away, so that you would see that unglazed layer underneath. So you saw the lighter color underneath from the darker color. So I thought that's kind of what this looks like, and I saw an example that had a lot of different circles. So I thought that was pretty neat. maybe not quite as close to, maybe, I mean, I know Nita doesn't care what people put because it's all about fun and experimenting. And so, but I think, that it was fun. It was an interesting experiment to figure out what it was and to try to figure out how I can apply that to, the world of paper and on an index card and in a kind of limited amount of time. So, yeah, so check back to my feed later. I'm not really sure when I'll be able to do that. It might be later tonight, to be able to actually work on this graffito, I don't even know how to pronounce it, thing, but, card, but that's the one for today. All right, so today, because it's our first Tuesday, I wanted to mention really quick too, since y'all are watching, if you would like, I've been making these cards since I started in July. I've been making my cards and I've been putting journal prompts on my cards. And so these are my index cards that went every day. These are some older prompts, but then I made these and they're kind of small, but that's okay. I like them. And so I'm going to go back and put some on my older cards too. But I thought that because I'm making all these cards and it's something I'm doing every day and I've made 30 of them already, which is incredible for me. I really rarely ever do anything that many days in a row, which is sad or not sad. I don't know. It's up to you guys what you think. And so I decided to just go ahead and make up a list of some prompts. And so I created this list and you can see I've already used a couple of them. And because for each card I do going forward, I'm putting a prompt on it, and I'll probably go back and put some on the other 30 that I have. And so if you want this list and you're not already, and you can do it anyway, even if you are on my email list, go on my profile and put your name on the list for the prompts, and then you'll have an access to what I call the vault. And the vault will give you the password to get into the page. That's a secret page with the password. And then you can download this page and print it. And then you can also download one of those motivational quotes that I post on Mondays. And I'm going to work on uploading some more of those to that vault. And as I come up with other ideas of things to do, maybe I'll come up with some, I'm thinking there's like creative sparks that you could do, like what to do if you don't really feel very creative. That's different than journal play prompts, right? Journal play prompts tell you to do something to your page. You know you're going to sit down and be creative, pull some ideas. I've done that a couple times on my YouTube videos, but or maybe just once. But creative sparks would be more like what to do if you don't really feel very creative. Like pick a word and then search Pinterest for some ideas, or make a list of 5 favorite things that you like to do, your favorite 5 art tools, or something that will spark you to feel more inspired to play and maybe go make some art. So that might be another list that I do. But the idea is that instead of just giving you one file when you sign up on my newsletter, I'm giving you access to the vault of all the files that I'm going to create someday. So I might try to make some other printable things, because I have done some scanning of images and, something might end up in there. So it's worth being on the list and being in the vault. And then if you're on the list, you get to hear about news and stuff for the store too. So if you decide you don't want to stay on that list, that's up to you, but at least you'll have access so you can get the journal prompts to start off with. All right. So that's that part. Okay, so I think today, because it's the first Tuesday of the new month, so I think what I want to do today, and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, but I think I want to do some gel printing, because we haven't done gel printing in a while, I don't think, at least since last week. And so I thought it would be kind of fun. I haven't done this consistently, but I want to do a gel printing session for all the colors, for the colors of the month. And since this month is blue, which is my absolutely favorite color, I'm I'm going to get some stuff to print on. Yeah, absolutely favorite color. So, haha. Oh, look, a page is already printed. Bye-bye, paper. Okay. So we'll just kind of do some playing, and I'm probably going to pull out some of my ArtFoamies because, you know, those are fun to play with and print with, and I love them. And where's my... Oh, I know where it is. 1 second, I'll be right back. Here's my Julie Balser one, and yeah, so these are the ones I'm going to play with, I think, today because they are good and you don't have to worry about them being reversed for printing purposes. And there's already 5 different options in here, and they're fun. Okay, so we've got this, some paper, some paint. Yay. Okay, so remember, the trick when you're doing gel printing or gel plate printing is give yourself a lot of space, which I don't have right now, but I'll, and be aware that once you start, you're going to want to keep going. And so you'll probably need a lot of room to put all your papers out so that you can, so that they can dry. Because there's nothing worse than you put a paper over to the side to dry and then you grab it again and start using it and realize that it's still wet, or putting another paper on top of it because you don't have a place to put it because you didn't think ahead, which I'm not very good at thinking ahead, honestly. So, yeah, so just make sure that when you start printing that you have room to put your papers somewhere. And I have a big floor behind me that's relatively clean, and so that's where I'm going to put all my paper. And I have a desk that I cleaned off, and somebody called Ripley's because I had 2 clean desks this week. So, okay. So if you don't already know what a gel plate does, this is a gel plate that comes in lots of different sizes. I have a 3x5, I have a 5x7, I have an 8x10. Those are all great for different purposes. I like the 5x7. I use my plates a lot as just a palette to hold paint when I'm working in my journals. I was just thinking about it the other day. I was like, I don't really think I work in my journals that much. I don't make focused pages. Right now I'm doing a lot of color mixing play, so I might not have all that much as far as that stuff goes, as far as journal pages go, but I like to use it as a place to put my paint because because it stays wet, and when I'm done, it doesn't stay wet. It's just a place to put it. And so I can use it as, I can flip it over and use it like a stamp like that on my paper once I'm done. It's just an easy place to have that paint. I've been working with color mixing, and I've been using actual palette paper. And while that's fun, here's my palette paper. That's great, and I really love how it looks when it's done and everything. And of course, I'll rip all of this apart and make it into something. And it works for color mixing. Palette paper probably works a little better, but from what I've tried mixing it on the plate, and it's okay. It just when you want to print it, it's just better if you can squish the paint all the way around. So palette works for if you're color mixing, but it's good to have a place to put the paint, and then you can just play with it, and then when you're done, you can just flip it over into your mop-up journal and go from there. So since it's a new month and a new color, I want to get out my colors, and I want to try playing with, let me get my colors. Here's blue, here's Prussian blue, and then here's some of my other favorite blues. I don't know if y'all can see them all my Amsterdams. And I have a Dilutions. This is kind of a blue. The thing about doing all the same colors is you might end up just kind of feeling really just not a lot of contrast and not really much fun to look at. But the purpose of this is just to make some pages that I can use later for collage, like this page that I did where I just scraped that color all the way across it. Isn't that so pretty? I just love that blue. Also, since it's a new month, I decided I'm going to start putting new paper underneath my work surface every month at least, so that I have fresh new paper and I can just rip up the old paper and make it into collage paper. So every month I get a new piece of paper. Of course, I've already squished some. This was all my gesso that I was playing with the other day. So, okay. So let's go with some of this Dilutions Vibrant Turquoise and see what we get when we start off. Okay, so if you haven't ever done gel printing, I always have to remember, like I always have to do a couple warm-ups, and then the paint might be a little different depending on which paint you're working on. And it's always handy, and that's why it's nice to have this paper underneath of your table. It's always handy to have a place where you can just, you kind of see that? You could just wipe this. Basically, I'm just cleaning my brayer off because I already used it to squish the paint all over my thing. So that one's going on the floor for it to dry, or the table. And then you can take some your ArtFoamy. And the thing about the ArtFoamy is you want to, if you're going to use acrylic paint, this is pretty much true for anything, I think, with acrylic paint. You want to clean it off as soon as you can so that it doesn't dry on there and get kind of yucky. So, can you see that I did that? You can't see it, I did that. Stamped it off over there. Sometimes the stuff that you stamp off is actually more fun than the stuff that you wanted to stamp. So, okay, so I'm going to actually do this in a couple places here, like this. And then, because I don't have my sink right next to me, I'm just going to spray it with water and wipe it off really quickly. Gives the same cleanup. Maybe if I can find a piece of my towel that's actually sort of clean. You know, like there's a scrubby thing that you can get. I actually have one. That you could do paper towels in a Tupperware, just wet paper towels, and then you just want to wipe off the acrylic as much as you can. Okay. So you'll see what I'm doing here in a minute when we actually do the print. I'm not doing this just so that I can stamp it, although it's kind of fun too, but we'll see what we get. We will see, because I said it always takes a little bit of time for me to get to remember the process for gel printing. So it always takes me a little bit of, oh yeah, that's how that works. And the thing about gel printing is you have to remember it's kind of a reverse, not a reverse, but what you put on the plate right now, see this, if I put a piece of paper and I print this, what I have on my plate right now, anywhere that you see where it's kind of yellowy, that doesn't have any paint. So what's on your paper already is what's going to show through on here. So if I was using a piece of paper that was already printed with some other color, like this blue, it would come through and the blue would show through underneath the turquoise paint. Now, if I go and put another color on top of here, you'd see the other color. You might think that you're going to have more of that other color show through, but what should happen is the other color would show through in the empty spaces, and then the turquoise should show through in the top when you flip it over. So it's what you'd actually see would be like what's on this side. I'll show you that in a second. It depends. If your paint's still wet when you put it on, then it might blend in and not print the way you want it to. But you also just have to accept that gel printing is not necessarily a controlled thing. It might be, depending on how you do it. When I do it, it's never a controlled thing. But, so you can wait until you think it's dry. If I put some paint on here right now, there's some spots that are not dry. If I put paint on there right now, it's going to smear that paint. So I'm not really going to try to do that. I think what I'll just do is I'll just print this. There is still some grungy bits on the back of this plate because I don't usually clean my plates specifically. So let's say we take this book page. Okay, this one has sort of a black. It's been kind of printed with black already. So we're going to take this one instead of having a boring white in there. Okay? And we're going to print that. There's a little edge, so I just want to make sure that the edge isn't getting anything. Okay? I'm going to pull it up. We'll see what we get. It might have dried, and then we won't get anything. Okay, so see? You have some of that design, and the black comes through, and you have an interesting design. I like it. Like I said, you never really know what you're going to get. And then now, all this that has dried on here, every time we put paint down, it's going to pull that paint. It won't pull all of it because it's just the nature of the way paint works. In my experience, I can't say that I'm an expert because I'm not. But, so that's kind of fun. Again, these are all going to be I'm just using these as future collage. Collage fodder, as they call it. So you could take your plate and you could just put down, you could just put down layers of paint, or you could just put down paint and just pull up pages that have just lots of different paint on them. You don't have to do designs, but it's fun to do some printing with actual stamps and things like that. Like ArtFoamies. Okay, so I think that's fun. That's really pretty. I love the contrast of the dark blue and the turquoise. And something that I've done that I really love to do is is to use alcohol inks. That's how this turned yellow. If you do alcohol inks, you can get a really interesting effect as well. I printed some of my cards using alcohol inks on my small plate because the small plate just happens to be the right size. I think that the purples on here are from the gel plate. Just happens to be the right size. All right, I'm going to use fluid acrylic, but I'm not going to because I don't know what it'll do. So let's do this one called Balmy Night. It's more of a dark blue gray, a blue gray. Okay, this is my brayer from Dina Wakley. I think this is Dina Wakley. It might be a Ranger one, but I don't have the Rangers anymore. I only have the purple Dina Wakeleys now. I don't think they even make the Rangers anymore that were the orangey red color. And they do have Tim Holtz ones now, but I haven't been able to get them. They've been very hard to acquire. Oh, and if you're interested and you follow all the Ranger people, I have the Simon Hurley stamp foam, and I will be listing that soon. So stay tuned for that, okay? I just got it in on Saturday, and I haven't had time to list it, but that should be listed soon. And then, yeah, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're on my newsletter list so that you can find out when that goes live. Okay, this is a fun one. You can also use stencils. Stencils are fun. I might grab a stencil here in a minute. This one's fun because it's pulling up a lot of the paint, and then you're getting that negative of the indentions on the page. So you can have a stamp that looks like this one, where it looks like the stamp with the negative of the white, or I guess the positive, and then you'd have the negative design here. For some reason, my paint decided to do some sort of a thing, but that's cool. That's all cool. A lot of gel printing is just experimenting, if you haven't figured that out yet. Or at least it is for me. I know there's a lot of people out there who actually are amazing at figuring out how to print with a gel plate, and they do it in the most beautiful ways. That's actually a predictable, probably, result for them. Or maybe they tested it a lot off camera and we just didn't see it. But when they do it, it's like, oh, that bird is in the exact right spot. And oh, you know, and that's not the way I work. That's not how my stuff works. So I think that this paper fits on this block, on this plate perfectly. And it was kind of a dark gray, so it may not show up. But it gives kind of an interesting overlay. And that some of that turquoise has come up, if you notice. It's kind of grungy turquoise, so we might come back and print on this one again in a little bit. Okay. What else should we do? Should we do light green? Let's do green, even though it's not a blue. But that's okay. That's okay. There's so many things you can do with gel plates. It's so fun. I usually start playing with it, and then I just don't want to even stop. I just want to keep playing and making more paint, making more pages. And then I end up with a whole bunch of pages, and then I have to do something that requires me to use up my pages. Okay. Stencil. Let's get a stencil. Maybe we can't find a stencil that quickly. Okay, maybe we won't do a stencil because I can't find one, but I'll use one of my foamies again. This is the Fresh Lime paint from Dilutions, Diane Reevely. And it's fun. It's very bright. Kind of more on the yellow side of the green. So I was practicing color mixing just from 3 primaries, red, blue, and yellow, following the videos from Kelly Wynn. And finding that you can make a whole bunch of different colors just from those 3 primaries. You can make a whole range of colors, and it's really pretty and it's really fun and different from what I normally do. Normally I'm just throwing paint down on the paper and seeing what happens, and it causes a lot of problems. But so this is very trying to make different color wheels and mix the paints and make specific palettes has been a very different exploration for me. And I think it'll help. I think it'll really help me understand how paint works, because I've never taken a real paint art class. I mean, who does that? Let's see. It's not quite dry, but we'll try it anyway. Okay, let's see. I want to try this fluid acrylic, but I don't know how it's going to work. I'm going to do something that I can trust will work. but I don't know because, you know, everything is just kind of a surprise these days. Okay, I'm going to put this down. It might smear, but we'll see. I want to get turquoise in the background of my print. That's my goal. And if it's dry enough, it should. And I feel like it's dry enough here in my location of Houston, Texas, south of Houston in Pearland, that it will likely, it seems like it is dry enough. It looks like it's not mixing. This is just a piece of scrap paper, obviously, right? When I was doing my inventory. Okay, ready? Ta-da! So see the yellow or the green is where I stamped, but it had all the color all over, and then the turquoise came through in the circles. That's pretty cool. And then some of the grungy bits came up, which I like. Very cool. All right, cool. All right, so then if you ever want to clean off your gel plate and you feel like it's just too grungy and you don't like, because sometimes these pieces on the edge are very, cause a problem, or they're there, right? They're just on the edge. You can get a piece of packing tape. This is my tape gun. You can get a piece of packing tape and you just, apparently you shouldn't use packing tape when you have gloves on, but you just stick it down. It's not going to hurt your plate. Take your gloves off really quick because my timer is going to go off. It's already been 30 minutes. Can we believe that? All right, so you just stick your packing tape down and you stick it so that you know it's going to stick on those spots, right? And then you peel it up and it peels it. And it's creates a really interesting effect. You can decide if you want to stick that side or you want to stick that side. This side's actually very pretty. And then what I do, I just stick it down again until I've covered up most of my tape with the paint. And then you can decide. So I think what I did was on the first few of these that I did, because all my plates are pretty grungy. You notice I have this labeled where the back of which side's the back. Just stick down and get all those grungy little pieces up. There. And then you have some really fun, you can stick it on a piece of paper. You can decide if you want to put another piece of tape on the back, which is what I did on most of mine that I've done so far. I did a whole bunch of these where I cleaned my plate off and I created, I guess, my own kind of double-sided washi. This one actually has so much on it that it's not even sticky anymore. Right? So I put a piece of tape on the back so that it would actually be not sticky anymore. My friend pointed out you can take your tape and you can lay it on a piece of book paper, and if you're lucky, if you've done it right, it might pull up some of that text. It depends on the paper. Paper kind of has to be old, but then you kind of have some interesting words that would show up on your tape. It might help if you have a different piece of paper that's older. This book isn't really that old. The older and the more brittle the paper is, it probably will pull up better. See? That's kind of fun. So, you know, then you decide, oh, I like this color better or I like that color better. But you could do it and it just, you probably have to do it several times to get it to work. But I think it's a matter of burnishing it down. Okay. So there we go. So there's some tape for you and a gel plate fun time. It's what I like to call it, gel plate enjoyable time. I don't forget, I also do Friday lives on Facebook, and I put all of my all of my videos over on YouTube. So even if you don't want to go to Facebook to watch the videos, you can watch them on YouTube. You can watch the replays, even though the ones on Instagram are all in my IGTV, most of them. There's like one or two that's not, but if you look on YouTube, you can catch them all with a title page, so you kind of know what it is that I'm working on during that live. All right. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll hope to see you either on Friday or next Tuesday. Have a very good Tuesday, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.